All right, I'm going to switch over to CNN just to watch the freak out. So the reporting that Mueller says he does not exonerate him. Fake news. It's true that Mueller did not exonerate him, but it's also true that Barr and Rosenstein did. Fake news. Fake news. They leave out the most important part. I just love their unhappy faces. I'm going to show you some unhappy faces as they happen. Total vindication, he says. I give him credit. I give Tubin credit. He's saying it like it is. Total vindication. Let's see what MSNBC is chattering about. Oh man. MSNBC. The victory lap has begun, they're saying on MSNBC. I'm waiting for the first presidential tweet. Nothing yet. So I've got the president's Twitter account nailed up. I'm just waiting. It's going to be the tweet of the century. And he's probably sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be a good tweet. All right, I think we've heard what we're going to hear, so I'm going to give you my take on this. As we know, people do not change their mind just because the data changed. So probably there'll be not a significant difference in how the public actually thinks about this. So because data doesn't matter, but it's a huge embarrassment for CNN and MSNBC and Washington Post and the New York Times and BuzzFeed and anybody else who's been reporting on this ridiculousness. Um, I honestly, I can't stop. I can't stop smiling. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say that this is as good as election night, because that was really good. But this is almost as good as election night. And oh, Chuck Todd's on. Chuck Todd, does he look happy? He doesn't seem happy. I don't know. Why is Chuck Todd not happy when there's such good news for the country? Is that Chuck Todd's happy face? He should be very happy about all the good news for our president and for our nation. Maybe that's just as happy as he can be. So let me refresh here because I do not want to miss the president's first tweet on this. But let me say this. If the way the president plays this is to underplay it, it would be just the greatest thing. So I think he's going to, there's a good chance he might underplay it a little bit longer. Of course, he's going to hit it pretty hard, when it's 2020. But I think people are expecting him to take a victory lap. I think they're expecting the president to just grind it in. And here's the question you have to ask yourself. Remember, he's the showman. What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? So far, he hasn't. But you could argue that it was premature. So it made sense both legally and in lots of logical ways that he would hold back until he actually had the report. But now he has the report. It would still be frickin' genius to just hold back and just not tweet and just let the news do it for him. Because normally when he tweets, he does it to change our attention, right? But he doesn't want to change anybody's attention. The whole point of tweeting is to make you stop thinking about whatever else it was and to think about whatever Trump wants you to think about. That's why he tweets. Do you think he wants you to stop thinking about this? No, he does not. So the worst thing he could do is to become part of the story by tweeting. He's obviously, the central part of the story, but the tweet, should he do one, would not help him. It would actually move the attention where it's so good right now for him to something that would look silly and small, right? So he just won the Super Bowl. He doesn't want to kick a dog on the way out. So the tweeting at this point would be sort of like kicking a dog on the way out after you won the Super Bowl. There's just no reason for it. So I'm not providing any good content here at all, but I love the fact that there are so many of you who just want to sort of share the moment. And it's great that we have this technology that we can do that. I'm just getting endless joy watching your comments go by. I can't tell you how much I enjoy just reading the comments as they're scrolling by here. They just make me happy. Now, let us talk about the good news. I mean, the good news, other than the president is not a Putin spy. There are a number of things that have gone very right, and it's just worth pointing them out. One of the things that went very right is that Mueller's team apparently never leaked for like 2 years. Think about that. Mueller's team, as far as I know, maybe there's some minor exception, but they kind of didn't leak, which is amazing. So all credit to the professionals who did that. Next, the Mueller conclusion appears to be just good work. So again, kudos. I mean, maybe we'll learn something different later, but at the moment, it looks like Mueller did good work. Next, let us compliment the president's legal counsel. I know the names have changed a little bit, but overall, they allowed the president to stay away from a perjury trap, and they got a good result. So to the president's legal team, good job. Let's also say that the system designed by the founders of the country took another stress test. So we had yet another stress test to the Constitution and the Republic, the way it was set up 240 years ago or whatever. And it was a pretty tough test. How did the system do? A+. So, we have a system where things can be ugly in the short run, but, in terms of how it ended up, nobody violated the Constitution. The process worked the way it's supposed to. Ultimately, the president did allow the investigation to continue. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are asking for full disclosure. It's all good. The only thing that's bad is the behavior of the media, the press, and the behavior of the Democrats, which I think you could say at this point is beyond despicable. So, we're going to focus on the top line stuff and what did the report say and who won and who lost. So that's where the focus is going to be. But don't lose sight of the fact that there were some really good things that happened here. We tested the system and it held. Nobody violated the Constitution. We have a president who is not a spy for Russia. We have a series of checks and balances which worked. We had a special counsel who was asked to solve one of the biggest, really, issues in America, and that counsel did a great job, apparently, as far as we can tell. Did a great job, didn't leak, took their time, produced a credible report. Damn. What's better than that? And so while you could certainly say you didn't like any part of the the Mueller process, you have to say he was appointed to solve a specific problem, which is the trust of the citizens, and especially did any law get violated, and is the country at risk? Those were big questions. Mueller seems to have answered them. All right. Now, for those people who have been in a TDS bubble for these 2 years, I wonder how they're processing their world right now. Because this is as wrong as you could ever be. And they have to know that. I'm watching MSNBC's report. They're focusing on the fact that Mueller said that he is now sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction. Yeah. Oh, okay. They're actually reading Barr's statement, which would be fair. Yeah, so what now do we make of Clapper and Brennan? Can they ever go on TV again as reliable pundits? If anybody puts either of those guys on TV again, if you ever see anybody put Brennan or Clapper on to simply act as experts, it's time to find a new news source, because let's talk about Roger Stone. Now that the president has been completely cleared, do you see any reason he can't pardon Roger Stone? Now, I don't think he can pardon Manafort, because Manafort did some serious crimes. So, maybe he waits a little and thinks about that later. I don't think he can do it right away. But correct me if I'm wrong, if the president wanted to move the news cycle, and I don't think he does, like right now he wants it, he's sitting in the pocket, that he's in the zone. The news could not be better for him, so he doesn't want to rock the boat. Doesn't want to tweet yet, probably. I'm just guessing. Strategically, he doesn't want to change anything, because everything's perfect right now for the president. Doesn't want to change it. But if he wanted to, he could pardon Roger Stone this afternoon, and nobody would give up. Nobody would care. People would jabber about it on TV, but the public would say, do what you need to do, all right? Because Roger Stone probably got just sucked into the witch hunt part of it. So I don't know if Roger Stone deserves a pardon. I don't have an opinion on that. I just know that the president could do it at this point if he wanted to change the news cycle, which would be unwise at this moment. But he has the option. Yeah, Flynn as well, right? Flynn as well. Yeah, I don't know about Manafort's kind of a special case, so you have to look at that differently. So back to my original point, what do the people who believe this for 2 years, how do they go on? Do they change it to another hoax? Do they use the fine people hoax? Do they use the we need to do the 25th Amendment because the president is crazy hoax? What hoax are they going to try next? They're going to use a hoax because the news is too positive. So the anti-Trump networks, this is interesting. The anti-Trump networks have to create bad news about Trump or they'll lose their audience. They can't really pivot. So Joy Reid called Mueller a Putin puppet. I'll tell you, if the president just lets them keep saying this stuff, they've given up all credibility at this point. Oh, my.